Welcome to the Philosophical Matter podcast. I am your host, Dr. Lowe, and I'm excited to be on this journey with you. In this podcast, we will delve into the conversations surrounding the intricacies that shape our lives. We will be having intriguing conversations with thought leaders, professionals, innovators, business owners, as well as influencers. So stay tuned. Welcome to the Philosophical Matter podcast. I am so excited to introduce you guys to the incredible Darian Holt. He's an amazing entertainer. You may have seen him all over the TV or being a leader out in the community. You may have seen him on the TV lighting up the screens on The Circle, on Netflix, or even with Nick Cannon's on his talk show, and a host of other shows and events where his charisma and insight shines through. He's a proud alumnus of Alcorn State University. He's a member of Alpha Phi Alpha, and he is a leader of the Apple Fried Apple nonprofit, where he's impacting the lives of kids. I'm super excited to bring to you his insights, his experiences, and whatever else he wants to share with you. Welcome.
Thank you. That was nice. I like that. Thank you. Thanks for having me. A Happy New Year to you. So.
No, thank you for
Yes,
coming.
ma'am.
I appreciate
Let's
it.
get into it.
How's the new year treating you so far? Just a few days in?
Yeah, just a few days into the new year. Definitely excited. Brought it in a very big way.
Okay.
I just recently got engaged. So
Okay,
yeah, congratulations to me.
Okay,
Thank you. So
Who's
So,
the
yeah.
special lady?
this special lady, she goes by the name of Jadasia Edwards. For now. Last name will be Holt.
Okay.
Very soon.
Talk that talk.
Yeah, you feel me? So, the king has found his queen. Other than that, just looking forward to the new year. Definitely accomplished a lot last year. Trying to keep that continuous going into the year 2025. So, blessings ahead. I'm looking forward to it.
I like that. What the young kids are doing. My niece was saying, like,
Oh, yeah.
I like
Yeah,
that.
what they say, clock that or all that.
I don't know. But
I
I
be
think
working
that's
with
a good
kids.
thing.
Yeah, I
That's a
think
good thing.
that's like a little silent hand class or something like that.
Awesome. Speaking of working with kids, so
Yeah.
you are a teacher. What grade?
So I currently teach fourth grade right
Fourth
now.
grade,
Yeah,
okay.
fourth grade jitterbugs. Yeah, so
Jitterbugs. What
that's-
subject?
science. So
Okay.
teaching them science. I'm like Bill Nye, the science guy, but like the black version of Bill
Okay.
Nye. So it's been cool. It's been cool.
How you like it? Like,
In terms of just being an educator or just
Yeah.
teaching, I love my biggest thing with education. I think I'm mostly excited about impact rather than just the actual career itself. I'm just a person that moves off like influence, being influential, motivation, and things like that. So being in a classroom allows me to do that. But it's definitely been great. I started Apple Fried Apple while I was in the classroom. I've been a leader in the community and things like that. So I've seen the influence that I've had
Yeah.
on kids, and I think I enjoy that as much. Being a teacher allows me to kind of free ball and build those relationships and things like that. So it's definitely been pretty good. But, I always feel like my calling is a lot bigger than just the term, educator.
Yeah.
Like you say, entrepreneur, leader, motivational speaker, things like that. But I definitely, have been able to create those opportunities from me being a teacher, truthfully.
Absolutely. What would you say was the initial inspiration to becoming a teacher?
Oh,
Like, what kind of?
I'm going to just be 100 with you. I don't even think it was any inspiration to be a teacher.
Okay.
I'm going to just backtrack all the way to like my journey into education. So I started teaching. I was a substitute teacher in 2019. And that was the year I actually signed up for my master's program at Jackson State, working on my master's of public health. So I was working on my master's of public health. I was like, I need to find like a little part-time job, something like that. So that's when I applied to like, I got a substitute teacher position.
Okay.
Started working at this charter school. Then, all of a sudden the kids just started, vibing with me, loving my energy and things like that. And The principals noticed the same energy, and they was like, "Hey, we want to offer you full time." I'm like,
Oh.
okay, I'm currently working on my master's, so it's like, I have to balance work and I have to balance school. But I was like, we would love for you to be a teacher here. I was like, okay, cool. So I took the opportunity. And then as the year went on, this is 2020. This was during COVID, so I
Okay.
actually started off as a virtual teacher.
Oh,
So
that's
literally,
interesting.
literally, I started teaching on Zoom. So my first 8 months of teaching was like untraditional as hell because I'm at the house, I'm logging in on Zoom, and I'm teaching kids through a screen.
Right.
And meanwhile, I thought about my years in school. I never taught or was taught on a computer. So that was a transition. But I remember like COVID started, dying down towards the end of 2021. So I remember we went back into the school, the actual building in like April of 2021. So that was my first time seeing like all my students in person. Mind you, I've been teaching them
Yeah.
through the screen the entire time. But I remember one day I had like my Alpha jacket on, Alpha Phi Alpha, and one of my students, that's when the apple fried apple thing came. That
Okay.
was like, oh, Mr. What they say, apple fried apple. I was like, no, don't say apple fried apple, but that's where that came about. So
Okay.
they started jokingly messing with me and things like that, and that's when I was like, okay, you know what? They kept calling me apple fried apple, and I took that as an opportunity, learn an opportunity for them to kind of get familiar with like fraternities, sororities, and things like that. So that's how that came about, and that's when I got the opportunities with like BET Awards, Good Morning America. That's when I really gained like the attention of me doing like my creative videos in the classroom,
Gotcha.
things like that on bigger platforms. So it was kind of like a blessing in disguise because I never wanted to teach.
Right.
Truthfully speaking, I tell people like they're like, "Oh, you like the best teacher ever?" Like that's by mistake, just being honest. But I do think that was God saying like I'm gonna put you in this space. You're already a creative person. You're a person of influence. I'm gonna allow you to see like your potential. And I'm gonna put you in this space, and I'm gonna create opportunities for you, and that allowed me to be like, okay, you know what, teaching. I never had a plan to actually be an educator, but I think that was God's way of saying like, you know what, I'm gonna allow this to be, a learning opportunity or a potential opportunity to motivate other people. So.
I like that. That's the epitome of your gifts and skills making room for you.
Yep.
Like, it sounds like you had plans to go into public health.
Right.
And so, how do you think your first year in teaching kind of shaped you and changed the trajectory of your career path?
Yeah. So even because being honest, I remember I got my master's in 2000. Was it? I think the end of 2021 in December. I graduated in December,
Okay.
and I quit my job. Literally, because I got a job working, like literally I graduated and I got like a government job.
Okay.
So I was working remote. So again, my plan was I'm gonna teach, get me get my master's, get a job, and then skedaddle. So I had a contracted job, but once I started working my contracted job, I was like, okay, the work that I was doing was minimal. So I was like working on my computer, working on a Google Sheet, things like that. But maybe 2 hours of work and I was done for the entire day.
Okay.
So I'm like, okay, after a week or two, I'm like, did I really have to quit my job, my other job?
Right, yeah.
In terms of like, just being 100% invested in this, I was like, I can do both. So I remember like, contacting like my principal saying like, hey, I know I quit, but like, is it possible for me to come back to the school?
Let's run that back.
Yeah, can I spend a block? I tried to spend a block on my school, and I had a hard time with that for quite a while because I had a young principal at the time too. And me and him like the same age. We had a lot of, just both young black professionals doing our thing. And he gave me a little bite back because he wasn't. At first, he was saying like, "Yeah, you can come back," and then certain things started happening, and He felt like I was getting too much attention because even like when the apple fried apple stuff went viral, I had like the news coming to the school interviewing me. Even Nick Cannon, when we did the interview from when I was in New York, they did a Zoom call with my students from Jackson.
Cool.
So I'm in New York and they got the Zoom call like, "Hey, say hey to the kids from New York."
Okay.
But he did feel a type of way about it, whether he admitted it or not. I know for a fact I had sources like, hey, you know your principal around this school saying et cetera, et cetera. But anyway, that's a different topic.
Okay.
But yeah, in regards back to public health, you know, that was always my vision. I was like, I can do a combination of both. So I was able to actually get back into the school. I was able to maintain my job with my federal government job at the time, and still had the influence that I did with the
Okay.
kids. And I think going back made me realize like how important it was, like being able to be influential. Because when
Right.
I say I came back, them kids, when they see me walk back into that
They were.
school, oh yeah, no, the kids thought I was a celebrity before I even thought I was anybody. Like they, Mr.
Listen.
Ho, we love you. We saw you on the like that's always been the energy they gave me. So you know, it's definitely it definitely gives me purpose.
I love that. What do you think it was that changed inside you
Yeah.
that kind of kept you interested in being an educator or impacting the kids?
Truthfully speaking, the amount of people that came up to me saying like, "I love what you're doing with the kids. I love what you're doing in the community." Because again, Apple Fried Apple was centered. You know, it's rooted around like Greek life. It's rooted around like community, brotherhood, sisterhood. So I was teaching kids that at an early age. These are sixth graders I taught.
Okay.
And another fun fact, you know, I went to Alcorn, graduated bachelor's from Alcorn, master's from Jackson State.
Okay.
So fun fact, I taught at a charter school. All of my classrooms were named after HBCUs.
Gotcha.
So my
Okay.
homeroom, Alabama State. My next class I'm teaching Prairie View, Texas
Oh,
Southern,
nice.
Jackson State Valley. So mind you, I'm in Jackson, so majority of these kids' parents went to Alcorn. They went to Jackson State. Even when I'm out about kicking it, hey, you teach my daughter. I'm like, you don't see me outside now. But again, just the amount of people like, man, I just truly love what you're doing. Like even amongst the Greek community, it's like, we never seen anything like that. You had like Kappa League
Right.
and the Beta Club and stuff like that. But something on a younger level where it's fun, but kids also being exposed to HBCUs and Greek culture and things like that.
And
like
it's meeting them in the
and
classroom.
and it's meeting them in the classroom, it's meeting them in the middle, and it's not forcing them to pick a certain specific fraternity, sorority,
Right.
or whatever. So, seeing like how many people recognize me just from my works, I'm like, okay, I'm working with something here. So it's like, how do I keep that like continuous?
Yeah.
So I think that has definitely been like the biggest motivation. Even now, I'm like, okay, I want to make this thing bigger than what it is. Like, I want to be able to have these kids go to college and be like, I just pledged Delta or AKA, but like I was in Mr. Hope classroom as Apple Fried Apple. He had me doing community service before I even got to college. Possible scholarship opportunities and things like that. So just seeing like the impact, I even had parents tell me like, man, like when I really like left the school in terms of like when I moved and had to quit my job, like kids literally boo-hoo cry. I had parents saying like, you the first man that broke my daughter's heart.
Oh my
That's I never forget.
gosh.
I had a student named
Oh
Zero.
my
Her mama called me. It was
God.
like, I got a bone to pick with you, Miss O.
Uh-oh.
I was like, why? She was like, you the first man that done broke my daughter's heart.
Oh
I was like, what you
my
mean? She was like, I done took this girl to get ice cream. She's been crying all day. I done went and got her some shoes. She's still crying. She was like, she won't do nothing because you done left the school and she don't know what to do.
Oh my goodness.
So stuff like that, I'm like, dang, like that hit a lot different.
I think that's an amazing point that you bring out. Sorry that you broke the little girl's
Yeah,
heart.
I told her sorry too. She was like, when I find you, it's on site. That's straight up what she told
But I
me.
think it's important that we shed some light on what you're doing, because I too graduated from a HBCU, the HBCU,
Yeah,
Alcorn State
yeah,
University.
the best, the
I
best.
too also was a part of a sorority, Delta Sigma Theta. But coming from a small community in Mississippi, I had
Right.
never been exposed to fraternities, sororities, or anything. And when I entered into undergrad,
It's like a wake up call. It's like,
what is this?
what is this?
Okay, people were asking me questions about, okay, what are you going to do? What do you want to pledge? Or are you going to do this? And I'm just like, what are they talking about? I came here to
Right.
get a degree so I can
Exactly.
do my thing. But then I started doing research. And my point in that is what you're doing with Apple Fried Apple is exposing people to the impact of sororities and fraternities early on, so that they can do their research, they can process, or they can understand networking, sisterhood, brotherhood,
Community service, all of that.
well before they're first introduced to it into
Right.
college. I remember, I know college is not all about sororities and fraternities,
Mm-hmm.
but when I got to college, met lifelong friends,
Mm-hmm.
found purpose in becoming a member of Delta Sigma Theta, but also understanding how when you get into the conversations and the meetings and what we do in the community,
Right.
and then you go back on the history and see how all the people who were a part of those
Exactly.
fraternities and sororities literally
And the
shaped.
impact that they
Oh
have,
my
like
gosh.
again, I'm an alpha. You think about first thing Martin Luther King. So
Yes.
exactly.
And so you doing that for kids who may not ever get that opportunity,
And they
it's
feel
it's
like they are,
important.
and I like the sense of like belongingness. Like again, I'm dealing with kids in South Jackson. They, you know, Jackson, Mississippi, period, in terms of crime. Like, people don't come from, they come from a lot of different like structured family environments and things like that. But you have kids that don't have nothing to look forward to. Like they go to the streets like, I want to be like him. I want to be like him. Like seeing a positive black male influence is like, man, I want to be like my teacher. Man, he on TV. He doing this and that. Man, I'm a part of this organization. Literally, I'm gonna tell you this, and this is when it really hit me. One day, one of my students, he was at Walmart, and he told me he was like, he had just pledged apple fried apple,
Okay.
but he was at Walmart and he had the apple fried apple shirt, and he said somebody came up, then he was like, "You missed the whole class." He's like, "Yeah, I'm in Miss whole class. You apple fried?" He was like, "Yeah," and they told
Yeah.
him congratulations. So also allowing kids to know, like, now you're a reflection of something too. If you join a fraternity, you're gonna be a reflection of your fraternity, or you're gonna be a reflection of your sorority. So now you got to think about how you acting in public. Because now, what if you was in Walmart stealing? You talking about you apple fried apple, but now you got to give me your shirt back.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
again, now you not only do you represent yourself, you represent me, you represent my organization. So kids, they love feeling like they a part of something. So
And
definitely.
it's very important to be a part of something that's positive and impactful that may carry them throughout their childhood and adulthood. I remember having this conversation one time. We had some friends from the neighborhood over our house, and we were just talking about PWIs,
Yeah.
HBCUs, college, and all these types of things that kind of is controversial in conversation, especially on social media.
When you comparing the two
Yeah,
and this
I
and
don't need.
that
I think I'm glad
experiences.
everybody can get their experience in a
Right.
college degree and all that kind of stuff. But what I could say truly, and what I said at my house, is that being a graduate of HBCU, I can remember that is the first place where I didn't feel like a minority. The first place where I felt empowered to be the greatest
And you was at all
person.
core too, so
Right.
you felt like, and then also, getting that family aspect. Like I know everybody, like we all click tight, like we all vibe, like homecoming, we on the grill, we kicking it. Like it's really like again, like you say the word community, family. Like that's what you get when you get like that true HBCU experience. That's why people be like, I'm about to do whatever it takes so I can make my way to homecoming because,
Right.
you're gonna see family, you're
Like
gonna
a
see
family
friends.
reunion.
That's literally what it
Absolutely.
is, truthfully. And even we don't even do a lot of family reunions, like in terms of my initial family. Like, so truthfully speaking, it's like it is a big family reunion, when you go to homecoming and things like that. But that's built off relationships you built, or made while you were in undergrad or when
Absolutely.
you was on the yard, HBCU, PWI, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah.
And it's not even just about the vibes. The vibes, you can't even explain the vibes in words. All you can say
Right.
is
It's
the
just
vibes.
like you just gotta experience it for yourself, truthfully.
But also the confidence that I think that I manifest in this world when I'm deciding to make decisions on my career trajectory, the decisions I'm making to impact the community as a business owner, as a nonprofit president, or whatever I'm doing
Right.
to traverse this world. I feel like that impact and that inspiration came from me and my experiences at Alcorn State University.
Yeah.
So I said all that to say, like, how do you think your experience with the HBCU, your experience with the fraternity shaped who you are today and how you want to give back and impact the community?
Right. Truthfully, I think it made a big difference. Because again, maybe like my first year or two at Alcorn is kind of like, all right, trying to find myself. Like what's my crowd, who I want to kick it with, hang out with. What's these people influence on the yard.
Right.
how do I see myself in terms of like someone that can contribute or just truly finding my identity and molding myself. So like my junior year, I pledged my junior year. I joined SGA.
Okay.
So I was the second vice president on the Student Government Association. So now, I'm getting characteristics of like leadership.
Okay.
I'm working amongst people. Also, I was an RA in the dormitories. I was probably the worst RA. But, I still had the role of like checking people in and out or being responsible for the whole dormitory and things, like that. Also, again, I pledge. So now, doing community service events, networking events. But I will say, truthfully, SGA was one of my experiences. Like, okay, now not only am I Alkanite, but like I am an Alkanite amongst the people.
Okay.
So I was setting up, meetings with like students, faculty, and staff. I was pretty much like the glue or the bridge. Like, hey, these, voice of the people, and then these are people we trying to deliver the message to.
Okay.
So having that opportunity, taking pride in my school, taking pride in myself, speaking publicly, speaking on behalf of people, things like that. You have people that come to you like, hey man, we want to do this. We want to come to you because we know that you can make it happen. Like, oh, homecoming, we want to do this for homecoming, but we want to come to you because you're the vice president. You can talk to the HA president. I was having meetings with the president of Alcorn, things like that. So being able to, have that experience, being able to be truly cultured, amongst like Greeks, everybody else, like that, my HBCU experience, I truthfully tell people like that is truly who allowed me, what allowed me to become the person I am today and mold me to like who I am currently.
I love that because you hear these conversations. I think everyone's perspectives, their perspective is valid and they have their truths based on their experiences.
Right.
But I really believe that college is not just about whether you get an education, you get a degree, your major, all of those things are important, but also the experiences that teach you how to articulate
Yeah, social
yourself.
skills and all
Social
of that
skills,
too.
how
That's
to, like
important.
you said, maneuver from conversation, different people, presidents, students, the community.
Code switch.
Yeah, yeah. And so I think that's important. And so I feel like based on what you just explained, it kind of shows how you've been able to transition into social media,
Right.
network TV, Netflix, and all that kind of stuff. Now, tell me about your experience with Netflix and The Circle.
It was an experience like no other. Truthfully speaking, because I think it was like 13 of us that went on the show. But just the opportunity itself, I think that was one of the moments where I realized like I got something going on because it was thousands of people that applied to this show.
Okay.
And out of thousands, over 10,000 people, like I'm one of the few
wow.
selected people that made it on this show. Again, we know Netflix. We know how big Netflix is. So, I'm honored. And then as an African-American man from Jackson, Mississippi,
Right.
at that, they could have chose plenty of African-American men, but they chose a African-American man from Jackson, Mississippi. Truthfully speaking, I felt like even being casted itself kind of spoke volumes because, they looked at me and said like, hey, we want him on the show. We know, what we feel like he brings value, contribution. This is what he does in the community. We think that he'll be perfect for the television, his personality and all of that. So my experience was great. I had to get used to being recorded 24/7. Now that's new.
That's
Yeah, literally going to the bathroom, eating, this and that. So I'm like, okay, let me not be too ruthless and the words I say. But it was great. I know they joke with me a lot of times about my accent.
you get that all the
Yeah,
time.
but
Yeah.
I never realized how country I was until I got on the circle. Truthfully, like I was like, Darian, I'm from the daddy South. I was like, okay, I hear it a little bit now, but that's a part of who I am, though. You feel what I'm saying? But yeah, just having that opportunity itself was like a 1 in a million opportunity. So I truly enjoyed it, and I'm blessed to even have that opportunity. So.
That's good. Now, what would you say was the most surprising thing about being casted on that show?
The most surprising thing, just really understanding like how TV works in terms of because again we're being filmed 24/7.
Okay.
So looking back now, like on what clips made it on the actual show,
Oh,
you get
okay.
what I'm saying. Think about 24 hours of footage for several weeks.
Yeah.
And, episodes are only up to an hour long. So just seeing, like, how they edit, how they, do certain things and things like that. So that was like a shock factor. But truthfully, like, after the first day or two, I was like, I really got comfortable. And, I knew the cameras were rolling. But it's kind of like you kind of get immune to it because it's like, okay, I've been here for like a minute or two. Like the initial shock factor was like when I first walked in that door, I had to realize I was like, damn, I'm on Netflix. that was the biggest thing that it took me a moment to kind of soak it in. So it was like one of them things like, oh, like the whole world, whenever this is done, they gonna see me on Netflix. And it's even crazy because like I'm on a thumbnail. You log into Netflix. Like I remember like when the show first dropped, like I was like one of the cover pictures. I was like, that's so crazy.
That's me up there.
Yeah, that's me. That's me.
DeeHolt.
That's DeeHolt on the Netflix show. And that's another thing. They even they asked me like, did you want to go by DeeHolt or do you want to go by Darian when you're in the circle? Because you on my social media, most people know me as DeeHolt. It was people that went to Alcorn that knew me for years, and they just thought my first name was D. So I was like, that's how I know if people truly know me or they know of me. But I was like straight up like, no, I'm going in as Darian. Y'all chose Darian for this show. So y'all gonna get Darian on this show.
I want my whole name on
That's
Netflix.
what I'm saying. Like I want my whole name. You feel me? I'm gonna give y'all the whole government, but that allow y'all to truly know me for me. So when y'all see DeeHolt, y'all see Darian too, or y'all know Darian rather than just who you may think you see on social media.
Right, the persona. Now, what was one thing that you learned from that experience that you feel like kind of stuck with you?
I always choose a black queen.
Hey, I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay.
If anybody watched the show, they know how I got eliminated.
Yeah.
So I know it was a lot that went into that.
I'm still trying to get over that.
I know.
Oh,
believe me, I hear this every day.
I can't wait to finish this conversation with you, Deja, about this.
Yeah, it was me being overly strategic in that process, though.
And all things have the right strategy.
I know. I promise you, it was a lot of thought that went into that. It was just me overanalyze, trying to protect my ally without giving away my, my game plan and stuff. So the obvious decision was to choose the queen, but I was trying to save both faces, and I ended up being executed in the process.
I had hope for you.
I know.
Because you made the right statements.
Yeah.
As you were going through trying to process how you're going to make your decision. But then you went against your thought process. What does that say about trusting your instincts?
No.
Your initial
trust your gut. That is the epitome of trusting your gut. And I remember being told to trust my gut. And
you went against that trying to be strategic.
Being strategic and over-analyzing. But, yeah.
Okay, well, I'm glad you learned that lesson.
Yeah, it's a lesson learned, but I learned it in a good way, obviously.
Now, how do you feel that experience came about? Do you feel like somebody put in a good word for you? Did you seek out that opportunity? How do you feel like?
Well, truthfully, years ago, I wanted to apply to this. I applied years ago to the circle. I had like a phone interview, but I didn't make it past that. I had the phone interview, but I never heard back from her. So it was something I manifested. I was like, I would love to be on this show. This is like the perfect opportunity for me to, possibly win $100,000, but go on a show where I can just truly be myself without trying to do too much and stuff like that. Some people get on TV and they try to fake it and this and that. There was an opportunity for me to just be authentic, genuine, and people see that when they see me on the show. But even in terms of me applying for this show, truthfully, I applied to like another show and I didn't make that show. But one of the casting producers was like, hey, they kind of missed out on you, but don't worry, like, opportunities come and go. I remember her contacting me again, like, hey, have you ever heard the circle? I was like, absolutely, I love the circle. They was like, well, you should probably apply to the circle. Okay. And I, went through the process of applying and continuously, went through the process of moving forward and, end up happening the way it happened. So
I like that. I hear you talk a lot about impact, and then you just mentioned manifestation. What would you say to young influencers out there, or anybody that's in the influence space right now that's looking for those next steps or looking for ways that they can be prepared for opportunities like that, what kind of advice would you give them about that?
I would say truthfully, find your purpose. I would say find your purpose and then also find like your niche. Especially like, people creating content like, you have gym influencers or fitness influencers, beauty, lifestyle, whatever. Like find what your niche is, but also find like what you're passionate about and like
Okay.
what brings you purpose. So one thing I found out earlier was like people love me for being like authentic.
Yeah.
They love like, what I do for my community. They love my personality. I'm a goofball, things like that. So, I kind of process that, and when I would do content and things like that, like I kind of figure out what your audience wants
Okay.
and what they like to see, and then you create your content and things like that. But I truthfully say the word purpose more than anything, because again, everything happens for a reason, and once you like tap into that, you will see opportunities continuously come your way. But you have to be consistent, but you have to know like what you're working with. I was blessed to find mine in a different way where it's like, okay, this is only, this I made this happen, but also I'm like this guy he's doing this big one, for your boy right now. So it's like, let me continue to, use my influence. Let me continue to, whatever wave I'm on currently, let me keep that wave going. And then, hopefully I can be an influence, or, I can motivate somebody else. So truthfully speaking, like find your niche, find like what you're passionate about, because it's easy to do stuff that you're
Yeah.
passionate about, and then you find your purpose, and then once you know that you're motivating people, that's going to give you that fire to be like, okay, like yeah, I see people, they got their eyes on me now, like people happy for me, so that's gonna keep you pushing.
Okay, that's great advice. I like that. There's a lot of conversation out there about setting boundaries versus taking opportunities. How do you know what opportunities to take versus the ones you say no to that may not be in alignment with your passion and your purpose?
That's a good one. Cause truthfully, when I first like started getting like brand deals and opportunities, I was taking anything because I was trying to get that money. I ain't gonna lie, I was trying to get that money,
Oh,
but
that's what kids say, getting that money
just give me
on.
my money. Yay. That's that's
Okay.
that's how I was though. I mean, but also kind of building that resume, like, I have to work with several brands. So, when opportunities come about, it's like, okay, I work with them. Like, I'm just letting y'all know my resume. So
Gotcha.
when we talking dollar signs or this and that. But it is important to like be selective on like who you work with, because like let's say I'm a fitness person and I'm over here talking about doing like a partnership with Dunkin' Donuts. I don't
Right.
know. I mean, some people can spin it off and make it work, but I'm just giving an example. Like you want to have something like that's aligned with like something you're passionate about, something that you can actually influence people to actually want to purchase or want to do. Because you can always tell like, oh, they just got this just because, sometimes your audience, they'll know what they
Right.
engage with and stuff like that. But you do have to be selective. You have to be smart and like in your decision making. Like, okay, I can see how this can work with me and stuff like that. So you have to be, you have to figure out like how you want to do it. Truthfully speaking.
Good deal. A lot of times in this space, like being an influencer, taking opportunities, you have to decide which one's gonna help you build your brand
Mm-hmm.
versus which one's gonna help you stay financially stable.
Right.
Which
Mm-hmm.
ones you're supposed to do for free just because of the
Yeah. Right.
opportunity and
This
the
is true.
brand awareness.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how often do you have to think about that and make a decision versus like it titter between those?
Yeah, like early. I mean, because sometimes you just, especially like early on, like when you get them opportunities, you should be like, I'm just glad that somebody reaching out to me and willing to pay me to do this and that. So it does matter. You just don't want to do stuff that's just like, why am I selling beauty products as a man or bras? Like I'm
Yeah.
just giving examples of like that's just so far off the wild. It just don't make no sense. So it is finding that nice balance. Like, okay, like they willing to pay me. Now the price is right. We'll make it work.
Listen,
We'll make it work regardless.
the
Like
dollar sign make it alignment. I'm just kidding. Just
yeah. I mean,
kidding.
I was just saying like y'all gonna get with the program or not. But yeah, you just have to figure out like what works best for you. And even me, I'm still working on like, which ones, like what I'll say no to, what
Right.
I'll say yes to, things like that. But again, it's like I'm looking at the dollar signs. I'm looking at, which one fits best in terms of my brands and things like that. So I'm not just taking anything, but for the right price, people
You'll
do it.
consider it.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's worth considering. So you just got to be, smart on how you do it.
Now, on social media and on TV and all those
Mm-hmm.
things, we see a lot of the highs and we see all of the
Mm-hmm.
good parts of, what people are achieving and obtaining. What would you say what has been one of your biggest challenges that you faced over the last, let's say, 5 to 10 years?
Oh, that's a good one. Like one of my biggest challenges.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. Cause I mean, you made a good point. Like people see like the highs, but
Mm-hmm.
like figuring out like the lows.
And the reason I asked that question is because a lot of times, I've seen this. It's hard for people to pivot or to persevere or
Mm-hmm.
to get through tough times.
Right.
And so it's important for our audience to see, okay, you can make it, you can persevere, you can do
Mm-hmm.
things. Here's one of the challenges that I've
Yeah.
had to encounter, and this is how I, got through it.
True. I mean, truthfully speaking, I haven't just had any just extreme challenges where it's just like this was about to break me, break my character. Like I was just down and out. Like, you know, but that's a blessed thing.
Mm-hmm.
I would say like people have things that go on with like family. Like I would say one of the toughest times, like when I lost my uncle Reggie,
Mm-hmm.
that broke me down because I remember like I was working and I was in Nashville. This was what 2 years ago, and I remember like amongst his time, he was dealing with cancer and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember like my brother, my mom, they was all there with him, like maybe like a week before he passed. I'm like, well, I couldn't make it because I was at work and he passed away. And I'm like, dang, now that hit me tough because he was an alpha.
Mm-hmm.
He was the first alpha in my family that I knew of. So in terms of like role model, things like that, I'm like, he had a big influence in terms of like who I am. Because today as an alpha I am, and what I do in the community. So I remember, even like going to his funeral, sharing that with people. Just being transparent in certain situations.
Mm-hmm.
Just I let people know like, hey, I wouldn't be who I am without the influence of this person.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think it's important like be transparent with people. Because also it's people that go through a lot of different things.
Yeah.
Like again, he was dealing with cancer. There's a lot of people that have dealt with cancer. I know people personally. I know
Mm-hmm.
people currently that are going through that. So I'm blessed for like my health and strength. But sometimes being vulnerable and sharing your story or pretty much your testimony can be beneficial to your audience. Your audience, and like I said, people appreciate me being authentic
Mm-hmm.
and true to myself. So I just thank God I haven't been in a situation where I just truly been down to the point I have to share my bad experiences,
Mm-hmm.
to connect
Well,
with people.
I think that's a matter of perspective
Hmm.
because the reason I'm saying that is because you never know the smallest things that you may have gone through that you
Hmm.
were able to maneuver through and get
Yeah,
through very easily. It could be the very thing that breaks the next person back
exactly.
because they may not have the experience, they may not have the support
Right.
or even the strength and perseverance to get through
Perseverance.
that thing easily. And
Hmm.
so it's always good, like you said, to be authentic and share those things. But what may seem like something you,
Small to me, yeah.
mm-hmm,
So that's a different
mm-hmm,
perspective because, like, I'm not a giant, but it's like,
mm-hmm,
I done been through processes or things that have, allowed me to just be, the person I am. Not necessarily saying Mr. Hardcore or whatever, but it's like, like I done been through this, so it's like I can just brush it out. But that may not be the case for everybody.
right. And thank you for sharing that. And I'm sorry for your loss.
Oh yeah,
But
for
I
sure.
think that is a great tribute to speak about and articulate as it pertains to your uncle, how he shaped your life and
Hmm.
influenced you. And so I think that's important for the audience to hear. Sometimes we lose people, sometimes
Hmm.
we encounter certain situations that kind of would ordinarily stop us in our tracks, but you get through them, you talk to people, you be authentic and work your way through it, one step at a time.
Right.
So thank you for sharing that.
No
Now,
problem.
what's your vision for the future? I know you're going to continue your path, that
Hmm.
whatever journey God takes you on, but
Right.
what are some of the things you're envisioning for yourself, for your nonprofit, and also for your career?
Right. So, I mean, even with Apple Fried Apple, like my goal is truthfully to make it something where like kids are able to like go to college, like get that experience, you know, get scholarship opportunities. I really wanted to make it something where it's like a national youth program
Okay.
for kids. That is the biggest vision. Truthfully speaking, another in terms of television, I've always said that I would love to be on Abbott Elementary.
Okay.
You know, I just
I
need like
love
a
that
I
show.
just need a
I
nice little
love
cameo.
that
You know,
show.
let me get the kids in some Apple Fried Apple gear, or bring me in as a substitute teacher.
Hmm.
You know, I think that would be pretty aligned with, me and who I am.
Yeah.
So
Love that.
that's a nice little vision.
Hopefully you can make that happen.
Yeah, I'm saying I'm trying to pitch to him or something, but maybe we'll put that on the champagne bottle
Right,
for
and
2020.
manifest it.
Yeah, so
Yes, yes,
I'm big
yes.
on manifestation. So I have learned that speak things into existence, and eventually they come if you put the work in too.
Right, right.
So even outside of that, professionally, I want to continue to do big things and continuously move forward. So.
Good deal. Now, what advice would you give young people about aspiring to be a certain person or
Mm.
inspiring to impact the community? What advice would you give them? Let's say you're talking to a teenager.
Yeah. I would just say stay true to yourself.
Uh-huh.
Like, don't ever, detour from like your values because everybody else doing different things. Like, figure out your path. That's the main thing. Talk to God about your path. Like
I
ask to
like
be
that.
led. Ask him, what do you want me to do in this life?
Uh-huh.
And how can I be beneficial to the next person or motivational to the next group of people? But being intentional, being purposeful, finding your purpose, and then operating. Like always consistently looking for growth. I think that's the biggest thing. Like
I love
even me
that.
learning, like I do this and that, but it's like I accomplished this. Now what can I do on a bigger level? Like how can
Mm-hmm.
I continuously motivate? How can I continuously encourage somebody? Like how can I be better? And people be like, that's a great role model. Like that's somebody that I look up to. So that's what I would say. Just walking your purpose and always be looking to improve and grow.
I love that. You speak a lot about growth. I
Hmm.
am a growth mindset
Right.
person. I'm super passionate about personal development. What do you do for yourself to continue your path of growth? What do you do that kind of feeds your soul or
Hmm.
fill your cup that allows you to continue the trajectory of growth
That's
and
a
improvement?
that's a great question, especially like at the top of the year. And I've
Hmm.
been thinking about that. I'm like, what can I do this year that can allow me to do more? So I think being like intentional.
Okay.
So I know a thing last year, like I got like champagne bottles, and I said like, these are my goals. Me and a future wifey, we both did this
Okay.
together.
Okay.
But what are my goals for the year? Um, how can I accomplish them? So finding action steps behind it.
Hmm.
So being just truly intentional on like how you want to do things, the path you want to do it,
Hmm.
and pretty much the execution behind it. So that's a really good question because now I'm like, okay, it's 2025. Like, let me go ahead and
Start
get an
thinking
idea
about
on
that.
like what I want to do, what I want to accomplish, how I want to do it. Because again, like you say, I always want to, people want to grow, but it's like, what you gonna do to grow? So does that involve me, studying for this? Does this involve me doing this in the community? Does this involve me joining this organization,
Hmm.
or reaching out and working with these people? So that's where I'm at currently right now. So trying to figure out the action steps and the execution plan to it.
I love that. So I guess we could talk all day, but we
Hmm.
can't stay here all day. But I love what you're doing in the community. I love how you are setting goals for yourself and going after it. I think
Hmm.
it's very important for us to all live a full life,
Right.
to operate in excellence and operate in the steps it takes to obtain
Hmm.
fulfillment.
Right.
And so I wish you all the best of
Thank
luck in
you.
your career, in your impact in the community. But before we go, I have this segment that I do with all of my guests,
Okay.
and it's
Let me get ready.
called "What's the Lowdown?"
Oh, what's the
And so,
lowdown?
and so you have 30 seconds to answer this question. and you have to give it a real answer. You can pass it if you don't feel comfortable with answering it.
Okay.
But okay, what's number one? What's the hidden talent that no one knows you have?
I can sing a little bit.
You can sing.
Yeah, I was in the church choir. I ain't lead too many solos, but you
Okay.
catch me in karaoke, I can hold a little notey
Okay.
note.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Can you share a defining moment in your life that significantly impacted your self perception, like what you think of yourself?
Yeah, when I pledged Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated.
Okay, okay. And what role did that play in your self worthiness?
It allowed me to truly realize how much of a leader I could be. It allowed me to learn perseverance. It allowed me to learn brotherhood, community, and
Okay.
a combination of things.
What do you think about self worth?
Is everything. You need to know what your worth is. That means you won't allow people to take away your self worth. That means
Okay.
you know what you're capable of, and you don't detour from it.
Do you believe you're worthy?
Absolutely,
Listen,
super worthy. What you
listen. I
mean?
love that answer.
I am who
Like,
I am.
some people
Absolutely.
don't know. Some people don't
Oh, they
know.
gonna know today.
With thousands of followers checking you out, what's
Uh-huh.
the piece of advice you've learned about yourself from your audience?
I've learned that. You said from my following, like what have I learned from my audience?
Uh huh.
I learned that I've been motivational. I learned that I've been influential. I
Okay.
learned that I've encouraged other people and things like that. So
Okay. Good. And you spoke about that earlier. How when you meet someone, they talk about how you've impacted them or somebody that they
right.
know. So that's good. All right. What core values guide your life and your work?
Mm. Um, core values. So I would say patience. I've been working on patience.
Okay.
Um, intentions.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, I try to put God first in everything. So
Okay.
putting Him first. I try to do what I do, but again, I can't do anything without running it by Him. So
Okay.
I always ask to be led and guide me and continuously open up doors that no man can close. So
I love that. Now, how have you been able to uphold those values in challenging situations?
I've been trying to stay, more connected with them. So getting back in tune with my readings, manifestation, things like that. So, speaking words of affirmation, that's pretty big. So yeah.
All right. And then what are you most grateful for right now?
Um, Life, family, friends, and love.
I love that. What do you think about fulfillment?
Oh, I think it's very important. I think everybody wants to live a life of fulfillment. You don't want to look back and be like, I could have did this. I should have did this. Like, I want to be able to. I want to maximize my potential. Like,
Okay.
people always talk about potential, but it's like, are we living to our full potential? And even me, it's like, I'm always, climbing the ladder, but it's like, am I at my full potential? Like, it's always room for growth.
Okay.
So
Gotcha.
trying to, always remain fulfilled.
What do you think about wealth?
Oh, I need it. I need wealth. Generational wealth is what I aspire to have one day. So, building myself up currently so that I'm in a position that, I can look out for family, friends, future children, my spouse, things like that. So building that wealth so I can have generational wealth and live the life of fulfillment the way I really want to fulfill
Okay.
everything. So
Okay.
yeah,
Gotcha. What are your thoughts on wellness?
wellness it's important. Health is wealth, and remaining well allows you to do the things that you want to do in this life. So
I love that. If you had to choose between wealth and fulfillment, which would you rather have?
fulfillment.
Okay. Is it possible to have both?
Yeah, I think you can have both.
Okay.
You can be
I'm gonna check back with you.
yeah.
I like
Yeah.
that. Okay.
I
And
think you do both.
then one more thing before we get out of here.
Okay.
If you could do one more thing in your life right now, I know you said Abbott Elementary is one thing, but if you could do one more thing right now, what would you do?
If I
If money wasn't an object, time wasn't an
okay, I
object.
sure about to say just give me some money.
Besides that, what would it be?
So if one other thing I want to do in this lifetime,
If, like somebody granted you a wish right now.
oh, that's a real good one. Um, and you say it can't be money.
It money. I said, but if it's something that money shouldn't stop you, or not having money shouldn't stop you.
Truthfully, be an inspiration to everybody.
Okay.
Being able to reach the masses in a way where like everybody truthfully knows my impact in this world and my legacy. So being able to like have a solidified legacy, like this is my last thing people know me for, like, all right, that boy Darian, that boy DeeHolt, like this what he did in the world, like we'll forever remember him.
Okay. So you got to get funding for the nonprofit. You
Yeah,
gotta
that's
get
what I'm
the
saying. I
dollars
gotta get
so
all
that
of
you
that.
can really disseminate your gifts, your
Mm-hmm.
skills, and your services the way that God intended for you
Absolutely.
to do. I love that. Well,
Absolutely.
we got some collaborations we need to be talking
Yeah,
about
we
later.
need to
So
talk.
definitely, I love that. Thank you so much for
Thank you.
gracing our
I
podcast with your
appreciate it. I
experiences
enjoyed
and
it.
your insight. Give the audience. Information as to how they can contact you,
Mm-hmm.
your social media, if you have a website, any of
Right.
that.
So you can find me on Instagram at DeeHolt, so DEE_Holtz, HOLT. It's also the same on TikTok, DEE_HOLT. And you can find me on Twitter. I'll be a little wild on Twitter, but you can find me on Twitter at D_1 and only underscore, if you can remember that. But yeah, that's how you can find me on the socials.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Now,
Thank
since you
you.
are an influencer, will the wedding be live, or is it something that they're going to have to catch you on the
Ooh,
rerun?
that's a great question that need answers. Truthfully speaking, because a lot of people like, are you gonna stream it? Truthfully, I'm a very close person, like personal. Now I understand people want to stream it, but again, I'm intentional, especially like a vulnerable moment like that. I don't necessarily know how a streaming would work. Maybe I can do like a video and recap of the wedding. I think
Okay.
that makes the
Oh,
most
yeah,
sense.
that
Like,
mean, okay.
don't intrude our space in a live moment, but
Right.
we'll share it with you when we get the opportunity. But
Awesome.
depending on what opportunities present itself as well too. But yeah,
Awesome. Thank you so much for stopping by.
thank
I
you.
am so happy that we got this opportunity to talk about
Yes,
everything
I
that you've
enjoyed
done and all
this.
the things that you plan to do in the future. I'll be checking you out, and if it's anything that I can do to
Hmm.
help impact what you're trying to do,
Yeah.
I'm here for it. You guys, stay tuned. Share this episode with someone that you love. Click like, share, comment, and enjoy this conversation. Thank you.